ayes have it. Members, we now come to the votes in the Finance and Government Administration sector, Volume B5, Volume 5. The question is that vote Audit, vote Communication Security and Intelligence, vote Finance, vote Office of the Clerk, vote Ombudsman, vote Parliamentary Service, vote Prime Minister and Cabinet, vote Revenue, vote Security Intelligence and vote State Services stand part of the schedules.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chairman.
That's the chair over here, isn't it? The Honourable Ruth Dyson.
Kia ora i te hea mana.
Kia ora.
It's a great pleasure for me as Chair of the Government Administration Committee to take the first call in this part of the debate to save the member getting anxious about the chairperson's preference. It was entirely just going by the rules rather than quality of the contribution, although he may have done the same had he judged it on that basis. You never know. We'll wait for your contribution and make a decision for ourselves. Mr. Chairman, this is a combination of two committees, the Finance Committee and the Government Administration Committee. And even though our committee had about 6 votes, estimates referred to it this year with a minister, only 2 of them are covered in this particular segment, the Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet and State Services. So I want to dwell on those 2 votes out of this big long list because they're the ones that come under my committee. When we had the Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet in, there's a huge variety of issues that we could have raised with them, but our committee concentrated primarily on the responsibility of the Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet to oversee the Canterbury earthquake recovery portfolio. One of the 2 issues that I want to talk about in this regard was the fact that it was very clear from the officials' response to the committee that they share the concerns of Treasury about the risks that are entailed in the government investment projects, the constant delay in those projects and lack of reporting around them. So that was reassuring to the committee that the Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet said Treasury have raised these major concerns and we share them. So we felt that we were at last getting some accountability for the delays, the budget blowouts, the broken promises really that people in Canterbury have felt in relation to anchor projects particularly. The second point I want to raise in that regard is around the Convention Centre. We had the hearing for the Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet on Wednesday the 29th of June. We were told that negotiations with the private partners in the Convention Centre, particularly with plenary, were ongoing and the officials couldn't share with the committee how they were developing and when we were likely to get an announcement. Within hours, literally, before that day was ended in this Parliament, there was an announcement made that plenary had pulled out of the discussions. And our committee felt quite cheated, actually, by that. Here we were, with our one point of accountability, with the Minister and the Department, being told that the discussions were ongoing and they couldn't share details with us, but, you know, hang fire, there'll be an announcement soon. And later that same day, the announcement was made that the negotiations had broken down. I don't think it's credible for this Parliament to believe that the officials were unaware of that situation when they came before us. So I was pretty frustrated at that. The other vote, Mr. Chairman, that I'd like to just comment on is the State Services. That was pretty depressing, listening to the story from State Services. It seems like every key government department and agency has had budget withdrawn and are running down services as a result of that. The government is looking at every opportunity to increase privatisation. What have they learnt from getting Serco in to run the private prisons? Not a lot, by the sound of it. Anything that moves could be privatised, and if it doesn't move, let's kick it so it does, and then we can privatise it. It's a very narrow ideological attitude, and it won't deliver the high-quality public services that New Zealanders expect and, in my view, deserve. Just this week, we've had the collapse of the latest brainwave. why the Minister thought that social bonds, which have failed in every other country, would succeed in New Zealand. Seems to be a trait of that Minister. Let's just pick up whatever loopy idea that's going and try it out as if New Zealand is as good as a guinea pig. So another part privatisation venture failed. The reforms of Child, Youth and Family are another huge initiative that don't give anybody any confidence in transition planning or maintaining the level of services that we've got, let alone filling the gap. So, Mr Chairman, our committee had an interesting time with those two votes, looking at those two estimates, but I think overall quite depressing.